Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Collins with the weather, Peter Brown with the weather, Maddie Shipko with the community calendar, and Marge McDonald with senior news. Thank you for joining us. The Burlington Police Department has issued a summons to a Boston woman on a number of charges, including operating a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol after a crash involving an officer's SUV last week. As reported on BNews, at approximately 8:15 p.m. on Sunday, August 12th, Burlington officers responded to a crash at 275 Cambridge Street on a report a sedan had collided with a police cruiser and then a building. Upon arrival, officers found a 31-year-old Boston woman, now identified as Susan Teresa Bodnar, driving a 2017 Nissan Altima, which had collided with a marked Burlington police SUV. The officer driving was on patrol in that area. According to the report, the sedan continued after the collision and went off the road and struck a commercial building. The building sustained damage and the town building inspector was called to the scene. Both the driver and the police officer were transported by ambulance to a local hospital, our local hospital. The officer was released that night. The extent of the Bodnar injuries have not been released. This week, the Burlington Police Department logs state that a summons has been issued for Bodnar on charges of motor vehicle OUI, liquor, failure to keep right for an oncoming vehicle, a marked lanes violation, negligent operation of a motor vehicle, speeding, and reckless operation of a motor vehicle. Burlington residents are being advised to take precautions concerning mosquito bites. The Mass Department of Public Health announced that West Nile virus has been detected in mosquitoes collected from Burlington on August 15th. West Nile virus is most commonly transmitted to humans by the bite of a mosquito infected with the virus. Most people infected will have no symptoms. When present, symptoms tend to include fever and flu-like illness. By taking a few common sense precautions, people can help to protect themselves and their loved ones. Be aware of peak mosquito hours. You know what those hours are. The hours from dawn to dusk are peak biting times for many mosquitoes. Consider rescheduling outdoor activities that occur during evening or early morning. Clothing can help reduce mosquito bites, although it may be difficult to do so when it's hot. Wearing long sleeves, long pants, and socks when outdoors will help keep mosquitoes away from your skin. Apply insect repellent when you go outdoors. Use a repellent with DEET, permethrin, picaridin, or oil of lemon, eucalyptus, according to the instructions on the product label. Drain standing water. Mosquitoes lay their eggs in standing water. Limit the number of places around your home for mosquitoes to breed by either draining or getting rid of the items that hold water. Check gutters, drains, unused flower pots, containers, plastic toys, and wading pools. Change water in bird baths frequently. During the summer, mosquito larvae can complete their development in water in less than a week. Properly maintain unused swimming pools. Mosquitoes commonly lay eggs in neglected swimming pools and water in loose-fitting pool covers or tarps. Install or repair screens. Some mosquitoes like to come indoors, so keep them outside by having tightly fitting screens on all of your windows and doors. Residents with questions can call the Burlington Board of Health at 781-270-1955. The school committee held a long and wide-ranging discussion on the reported FY18 school budget deficit during its meeting on Monday night. At the top of the meeting, Chairwoman Kristen Russo started off with an apology about the situation. Let's look.
Before we launch into the issue, I just want to take a moment and apologize for the situation that the district's in. It's not happened before. Hopefully it will not happen again. While our focus should be on the schools, the teachers, the principals, the administration who are doing such wonderful work right now, getting ready to welcome our students and bring them forth, our focus isn't there right now. Our focus is managing through this this event of frustrating, difficult experience of the budget that we're in. Through this process, we'll become more educated, we'll become stronger, we'll have better fiscal responsibility. Our policies and procedures will be there.
The first topic was the amount of the deficit. As reported by BNews during the July 24th meeting, Superintendent Eric Conti estimated the FY18 budget deficit to be roughly $1.7 million. That number was later revised downward during the August 8th Ways and Means meeting to roughly $880,000. This week, Conti said the new estimate for the deficit is about $780,000. Conti said there were a number of factors for the change over time. The first being that when the deficit initially came to his attention, he had a moment of panic and rushed to report the situation. Let's have a look.
Got the call in July. It was sort of one of those calls where you go through a whole range of emotion. I think, Ms. Creedon, you mentioned many of those emotions that I got when you got the call. And I think what we talked about at the time was, before we even sort of got into everything, what's the worst case scenario? And I think the 1.7 million number came about as sort of a worst case scenario. I got to tell you, I honestly panicked a little bit. That's on me. We wanted to notify people as soon as possible that there was a problem, so we sort of got it out to all of you. I think we notified Ways and Means and the town, and it's that was the worst case scenario that we were concerned about.
Business manager Nicole Cautious said that between then and now, the department worked with town auditor Jim Powers, who suggested they go through every purchase order that hadn't been fulfilled. Upon doing so, they found numerous duplicates as well as expenses that weren't actually part of the operating budget that gave them a clearer picture of the actual deficit. Conti said the source of the deficit was in employee salaries. In total, he said the budget was roughly $1 million under in salaries in FY18. This was balanced somewhat by a budget surplus of $200,000 in non-salary items, but that still leaves the deficit facing the department today. Conti said there are a number of factors that caused the salary budget to be overexpensed.
But there are parts of salary that are unpredictable. Much of it is predictable, and it's the majority of what we spend. And we have some of those unpredictable things happen periodically. But there's no one single sort of event that I can say caused the overexpenditure. It was a bunch of different things that happened, and they seem to happen all at once.
How to cover the deficit and pay the vendors and contractors owed money will be before town meeting in September. The legislative body will have to vote to either use funds in the stabilization account or to raise the funds through taxes in FY19. Either way, the vote will require a rare 9/10 vote. 90%. If the article fails, the state will most likely require the town to raise the funds through taxes, and the town will be open to lawsuits from those owed if they haven't been paid. Finally, Conti suggested some ways the school department could pay back the town. He said there was $79,000 left over from completed capital projects that could be put back in the general fund. He also floated the idea of holding off on projects approved last May, capital projects approved last May, but that haven't been started yet. These include air conditioning at Francis Wyman, a rubber floor for the playground at Pine Glen, and the Burlington High School front parking lot. The school committee did vote to transfer the $79,000, but there were concerns among both committee members and residents in the audience about holding off on the planned projects, which had already been through the appropriation process and approved at town meeting.
And now we're looking at the most recent blocks of money that we got in May for warrant articles. The air conditioning at Francis Wyman, I think there's going to be a lot of hot people. I mean, it's going to stop the process. We were going to do half and then do half hopefully next year. So it's going to stop that. So it does negatively affect the teachers and the students. Where the parking, I couldn't care less. I didn't like the parking in the first place. But the playground, it's a safety issue. I mean, do we really want to risk a broken arm so that we can kind of look good to turn the money back to the town? I have a problem with that. I think it's a safety issue, and I'm not convinced that that's a good place to get the money.
A decision was made to revisit those issues at the next meeting. Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito were at Burlington High School this week to meet with area educators and members of law enforcement to talk about a school safety initiative. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford was there and has this report.
This past Monday, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker and Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito paid a visit to Burlington High School. They were greeted with some musical fanfare by the BHS marching band before sitting down for a panel discussion with educators, including a number of area superintendents, local government leaders, and law enforcement officials on a school safety initiative. Governor Baker kicked off the discussion with a broad overview of the proposal.
That there were additional opportunities that we should be considering, especially when it came to what took place on the ground at schools. And that led to a $72 million proposal that we made that's currently pending before the legislature that contains many of the recommendations and the proposals that were made to these three secretaries and to the Lieutenant Governor and myself. It's a multifaceted proposal.
Included in the budget proposal is $40 million for school districts to hire additional social workers, mental health counselors, and psychologists, $20 million in matching grants for security and communication upgrades in K-12 schools and at public colleges and universities, $4 million for school resource officers, and $2.4 million for a tip line, among other items. Local leaders said they were pleased the governor was taking on the issue of school safety and especially applauded the resources being dedicated for mental health.
Again, I think what research is telling us and what we sort of know and experience every day is kids have to learn those behaviors. So their social and emotional growth is just as important as their academic development. In fact, they really have to go hand in hand. So a lot of students there's a lot more trauma, it seems like, in the world. We have a lot of families in crisis, and so we're seeing that trauma come in through the kids, come in through the front door. So we need to have supports for kids. Our teachers need support in their classrooms. They need some additional training, and we just need to keep up with student needs in the community.
I think it's a very important topic. I'm glad the governor and hopefully the legislature are taking it seriously. The funds that they are bringing forward for both school security, mental health issues, identifying perhaps someone that could have a problem down the road before it becomes a problem, is a very proactive approach. So I applaud the governor.
Very important because it addresses the cause of some of the violence that we see. And also, mental health treatment and mental health access is very important because, you know, when someone is suffering from a condition like mental health, it's not like a physical illness where someone just can describe their symptoms and they go to the doctor and they take care of it. This is a little bit more complex, and we need trained people, and we need support for those trained people, and we need support for those families. So this will help in each of these instances.
I think what I heard here today was really good. I am really happy to see the focus on treatment, on supporting kids, on providing safe places for them to be, and addressing their needs.
Superintendent Conti also spoke about the importance of having a system in place for students to communicate concerns they may have about potential threats.
Well, what's interesting for us is what we found is through social media, a lot of times kids will notify us or they'll hear something on social media and we get notified. I think we just need to have multiple avenues and include pathways of communication that the kids use normally. So that's, so I think we need to look for a tip line, but it can't be a tip line that's good for adults. It has to be something that the kids are comfortable using. But we really do rely on our kids having good relationships and our kids really wanting to support one another and really try to make a difference. So they do take care of one another. We just have to listen.
At Burlington High School, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
During Governor Baker's visit to Burlington High School, there were a number of locked-out workers from National Grid demonstrating in front of the school, hoping to catch the governor's attention. BNews reporter Robert Parrish went to talk with them and find out what brought them out. He has this report.
On Monday, August 20th, protesters could be seen outside Burlington High School, passing out signs and raising concern to end National Grid's employee lockout. The action was tied to a visit by Governor Charlie Baker.
We've been locked out of our jobs. We represent 400 gas workers. We work basically our 3 yards, Lowell, Malden, and Amesbury. We also have a local 12003, the Boston gas workers local as well. And we work for National Grid. We've been locked out over 2 months now. Again, I stress lockout. We want to be at work, but the company has chose not to let us work unfairly. Talks broke down June 25th. So we are here today now. We understand the governor's here for an event, We believe that it's been long enough, he can certainly do something about this situation, and the Department of Public Utilities can. There's been so many complaints that we feel of violations that have been happening with these replacement workers out the roads, and we want to see this carried through and investigated, and we want to get back to work, and we feel the governor can certainly do something to help on public safety, which we do think is at risk.
The unemployed workers have spoke to National Grid about the current situation with the lockout, and negotiations are currently at a standstill.
Right now, we are talking, but the company has not changed its position at all, which is very serious concessions on health care, medical insurance, and benefits for new hires, pensions, retiree medical benefits, sick time. We feel it's unfair to ask other workers to come in and not have the same benefits that we've all bargained for over a long period of time. And this company just wants to come in and just take.
One of the biggest concerns at the lockout was the public's safety. National Grid has been hiring less experienced replacement employees, which has been putting the public at risk, as the new employees do not have the institutional knowledge to safely work on the gas lines.
I have 31 years experience. A lot of us, we have experience. We're not beholden to any other factor other than doing our jobs and doing them safely, doing it well. And certainly these replacement workers that are coming from, there's a mix of supervisory people that may have the qualifications, but do they have the experience? And then these other workers mixed in with them that come from anywhere from New York. We've seen Texas, we've seen them all over the place. So we certainly feel that the experienced workers, for us to do our jobs, not happening.
We spoke with the representative from National Grid and asked about the current situation with the lockout. They said, "We are committed to fair negotiations that result in a contract that gets our employees back to work as soon as possible. National Grid has communicated to the unions that we remain willing to meet 7 days a week to reach an agreement on all outstanding issues." They also addressed the concerns raised in regards to replacement employees, saying, "Our crews have been safely working on the gas lines for the past 9 weeks, completed more than 12,000 jobs, including odor calls, leak repairs, damage repairs, and requests for new service. There is nothing more important to the company than the safety of our customers, employees, and the general public. Federal law requires that our workforce is trained, qualified, and able to demonstrate the skills required to operate and work on the gas system. Our continuation workforce consists of a mix of more than 600 skilled contractors and roughly 700 National Grid management employees, including supervisors who oversee union employee work. We regularly conduct appropriate reviews and investigations of our work sites, and if any safety concerns are noted or observed, we take prompt and appropriate action, just as we do with our unionized employees." Unfortunately, the protesters did not have a chance to speak with the governor. They hoped their message was clear.
We certainly hope he can urge National Grid to end this lockout, and also the Department of Public Utilities, as I said earlier, they certainly can investigate and get out complaints and be out in the roads and see what some of the risky behaviors that the company seems to have done that we had complaints. We're over 25 complaints now. Certainly certain unsafe practices, we feel that, he could do something.
From Burlington High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
On another matter involving National Grid, a posting on the Burlington Residents Network has a resident reporting that 2 alleged National Grid employees came to her door requesting to go in the house for a bit of a survey, apparently. When she questioned them and suggested that she would be calling the company, they fled in a car. So keep your eyes out for that. National Grid says they do not send employees to anybody's home unless there is a call for repair. Marshall Simons Middle School hasn't had a transition administration in over 40 years. In that time, generations of Burlington students have been guided by Principal Connors, Mrs. Abadi, and Mr. Lucis. Now a new leadership team is beginning their journey with Burlington's middle schoolers. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak went to meet with the new team and has this report.
For over 40 years, the students of Marshall Simons Middle School have known one administration: Mr. Connors, Mrs. Abadi, and Mr. Lucis. Now retired, Marshall Simons is ushering in the new era of Principal Carrie Purchase. After 3 years as assistant principal and 5 years as principal of Medway Middle School, I asked Principal Purchase Why Burlington?
I think that I was at a point in my professional kind of journey where I had been in the same district for 8 years and was really looking for an opportunity to both take what I've learned in that experience and apply it to a new setting, and was ready for a different challenge. From there, every interaction I've had, both through the interview process and then the opportunities that I've had to come visit the school this spring, I've just been so impressed with the adults and the professional culture that exists here, and I really credit that to the former administrative team.
Joining the team is Burlington native Josh Murphy. With a background in computer science, he taught computers and math at BHS and helped create the student information system before he made the move.
This position had opened up with the transition of Mr. Connors and Mrs. Abadi and Mr. Lucis, so here I am now, kind of getting back to the school side of things to deal with more student aspects.
Principal Purchase told me about taking the reins from long-established Principal Connors.
I will be honest with you, when I first started to apply, for positions and Burlington came up, I was not aware of the unique situation. And really, I'm in awe of Mr. Connors and Mrs. Abadi and Mr. Lucis in terms of having such a stable administrative team here for as long as they were here.
As a Marshall-Simons alum, I asked Mr. Murphy what it's like being the new Miss Abadi.
It's very intimidating. I've always been told that I have some, some speckles or like some amber highlights maybe in my hair, but, I'm definitely not Mrs. Abadi. I don't think there's definitely only one Mrs. Abadi. It would be big shoes to fill. But she's a legend in this town, so every time, if you say I'm going to be the assistant principal of like whatever school, they might not necessarily know exactly what you're going to do, but if you say I'm going to be the next Mrs. Abadi, everybody in Burlington kind of knows what your role is going to be.
What I've said and what I will continue to say is that we're not kind of jumping into a lot of change right off the bat. Mr. Connors and his team created the schedule this year. We're going to continue with the schedule this year. Really, our goal and our number one priority this year is about building relationships with students, with the family, with the community, and with the teachers. There's no way that Mr. Murphy or I could ever replace Mrs. Abadi, Mr. Connors, or Mr. Lucis. So there's going to be, just by us being different, there are going to be some differences and some perceived changes. And we hope that through having conversations and letting folks know kind of what our thinking is and our reasoning, that they'll, that it won't be kind of a shock along the way. I'm passionate about children and about supporting kids. That's my joy, and that's my reason why is to helping kids gain the skills, and that doesn't just mean academic skills, skills to be successful right now at middle school, but then also in the future and in life. I just encourage families to reach out. Communication is really important. We will do our best, myself, Mr. Murphy, in the school, to communicate and to send communications out. My practice is to do a parent coffee hour about once a month, so we'll be sending those dates out. And again, those are just less formal opportunities to talk about what's happening in the school, things, discuss potential changes down the road, but it's also an opportunity for families to ask questions and community members to kind of engage, because communication is great, but it really is meant to be two-sided.
From the Marshall-Simons Middle School, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak. Back to you in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown in our Weather Center for a look at the forecast for the week ahead. We'll also check out the community calendar with Maddie Shipka to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone, and this is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. And I know it's hard to believe, but we are really in the home stretch in terms of summer. We are getting to the last full week in August, and starting out our period on Thursday, we're going to actually, for the first time in a while, see really beautiful dry conditions. Seasonable temperatures only in the upper 70s. And if you're going out around the Burlington area on Thursday night at all, look at these low temperatures. It's going to be, am I going to say a little bit chilly? I think it actually is. So that's going to be hard to believe after all the weather that we've been having for the past couple of months around the area. We're going to be well away from this record high of 90, but we're going to be starting to creep back up towards those temperatures as we start out the next work week. As we get into the late Sunday into the Monday time frame, we're going to see those real summer temperatures come back to us. And of course, as we head towards the end of the period, we're going to start to see our average high temperatures get lower and lower each day, but still beautiful conditions. Should still be in the upper 70s, and it's going to be quite a bit warmer than that as we head towards the end of the period. And noticing here our sunrise time, this is actually the 22nd was the last day that the sun rises before 6 in the morning until we get way into the latter portion of next spring. So that'll be the end of the sunrises before 6 o'clock. So that's a sign that fall is on its way. Now, our weather is not going to be too eventful here for the next couple of days. So the next graphic I'm going to show you is detailing a rather powerful storm that is going on way out in the Pacific, about 5,800 miles away from the Burlington area, out towards Hawaii. Now, if you have any friends or family who are out in the islands, they are going to be bearing the brunt of a very, very powerful hurricane. And this is something we really haven't seen anything of here in the Atlantic Basin this year. So if you do know anybody out in the islands, get in contact with them if you can, because they are looking at a storm that could be a strong Category 3 or Category 4, maybe all the way up towards Honolulu. So this is going to be something to really keep an eye on, something that the Hawaiian Islands don't see that often. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting news story, but hopefully we'll keep everybody's thoughts and prayers out on those islands, and we'll be just thankful for the nice weather that we're going to be having coming up. And speaking of that, as we go ahead and we show you the 7-day forecast, look at this. This really doesn't get any better when you get towards the end of August. Look at this. Wall-to-wall sunshine almost every day, maybe a couple of few fair weather clouds each day. And again, starting out our period on Thursday, beautiful temperatures only in the upper 70s. A little bit chilly again in the evening, so you might want to bring a little bit of sweater or something like that if you have to be out. Friday, again, another gorgeous day out there. Dry conditions, temperatures in the low 80s. And that trend is going to continue all the way through the weekend. Looks like a little bit earlier it said that we might have a little bit in the way of some showers, but it doesn't look like that's going to materialize for a weekend. So if you have to be out and about on the weekend, it is going to be absolutely beautiful out there. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And again, as you go back to work on Monday, we're going to see that real summertime warmth head back to the Burlington area. Temperatures in the low 90s with a little bit of a creep up in the humidity again. And we're going to continue those fair weather skies all the way through the end of the period, with temperatures rounding out the period well above average in the mid 80s. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the beautiful weather, and have a great week.
I'm Maddie Shipka, and this is your Community Calendar. Get ready for a night of family fun. On Monday, August 27th, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., the Mount Hope Christian School will be having an outdoor movie night for kids and their families. Bring your beach blankets, lawn chairs, wagons, etc. There will be free ice cream, popcorn, candy, and games prior to the movie. A food truck will also be available for food purchases. The movie starts at sunset. The event is also free. For more information, call the Mount Hope Christian School at 781-272-1014. It's time to go back to school. On Wednesday, August 29th, from 5 to 7 p.m., the Marshall Simons Middle School will be having a welcome night for students entering 6th grade. Children and their families will get a chance to take a tour of Marshall Simons. There will also be a brief presentation at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. Everyone is welcome. For more information about the event, visit msmsburlpto.wordpress.com. Come and dine with the Church Organization Anthem. On Thursday, August 30th, starting at 6:30 p.m., Anthem Church will be having a meet and greet dinner party. Get a chance to meet the leaders of the Anthem Church. The evening will include dinner and a chance to see what's in store for the next couple of months. Space is limited, so please RSVP by emailing info@anthemchurch.life. I'm Maddie Shipka, and this has been your Community Calendar.
One place where there is always a lot happening is the Senior Center. We go now to Council on Aging Director Marge McDonald for the latest senior news.
Hello. We have had a really busy summer at the Senior Center, between staff vacations and moving our offices and public spaces back downstairs. We are still a construction zone and there's still quite a bit to do, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Some of the work that still needs to be done wasn't in the scope of work, so facilities will be undertaking some of that work, and it will take a bit longer. The most important piece is we are all back under one roof. We were planning on having a grand reopening and open house in September so everyone could see the finished building. Unfortunately, there were a few projects that haven't gotten done. like the front entrance, and we will be postponing the open house until Wednesday, October 17th. I'm disappointed as September is Senior Center Month, but it can't be helped. We seem to have fairly successfully moved to showing movies in the way of the rest of the population of the 21st century, which also means we will likely be able to show movies in several different rooms, depending on the size of the crowd. And we can show up-to-date movies and maybe even some TV series. The possibilities are endless. Monday the 27th, we'll be showing the movie The Ladies in Lavender with Judi Dench and Maggie Smith, who play two sisters who befriend a mysterious foreigner who washes up on the beach of their 1930s Cornish seaside village. The farmers market is back downstairs in the Murray Kelly wing. We will go back to giving out the produce at 1 p.m. There is no guarantee that the produce will arrive before 12:30 p.m., so I don't want folks upset when they think the truck is late. We will continue to have the market every Wednesday through November. The new New Orleans Jazz Band will play in the Murray Kelly wing for the month of September. They are at the Senior Center the first Wednesday of every month at noon and the second and fourth Monday at 7 p.m. We are looking at new programming for the fall, so keep your eye out in the newsletter. We will be adding mahjong and an informal sing-along or karaoke to the schedule, as well as Ask the Pharmacist. Pharmacy residents from Leahy will come once a month. We'll have 2 half-hour private appointments for you and a half-hour drop-in slot afterwards. This will give you the opportunity to ask questions about what you take, and if you are a Leahy patient, they can even look up the drugs you are taking. You do not have to be a Leahy patient to take advantage of this service, though. You can make sure you are taking them correctly and ask if it really matters if you take your meds before bed or at dinner, and ensure there aren't any interactions or side effects you need to worry about. You can ask any other questions you have as well. The outreach workers and I are very excited about one of our new programs for folks with dementia and their care partners. Memory cafes are all over the place right now, and many folks go to as many as they can. Our Memory Cafe will start in October on Tuesday the 16th and will take place on the third Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. But we're holding a kickoff on Monday, September 17th. We will hear about and become a dementia friend and learn about living with dementia and the simple things you can do to support family and friends living with changes in memory and thinking, including tips on communicating. You don't need to be an expert or know someone with dementia to become a dementia friend. The Dementia Friend session will be led by Beth Solzberg, who will also lead the information session on what a Memory Cafe is at noon. Lunch will be served, and we ask that you RSVP by September 10th. Anyone and everyone is invited to attend either or both sessions, whether you're 20 or 120 from all walks of life. The information session and Memory Cafe are sponsored by Leahy Hospital. That's all for now. I'm Marge McDonald, and I hope to see you at the Senior Center.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week we have a lovely pair of feathered friends taking a quick stop on a tree. It was sent in by Marcy Rose and shows 2 northern flickers. A large member of the woodpecker family, and are known as one of the few woodpecker species who migrate. Along with their unique coloring, they can also be identified by their distinct call, kee kee kee, that sounds a little bit like a laugh. They are also known for the near constant beating of their beaks on trees or even man-made objects as a way to declare their territory. Long story short, they're a beautiful bird, but you may not want one right outside your bedroom window early in the morning. If you're interested in attracting them, they are particularly in favor of eating suet or the suet squares that you can get at O'Connor or the Christmas tree shop, etc. So thank you for the photo, Marcy. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of something you see around town, whether outside your own door, or even photos of your family members, friends, and pets. Whatever you think is interesting and would like to share, we'd like to see it. Email your photo to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line, Photo of the Week. And that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with BNews Director Rich Hosford, BNews reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Maddie Shipka with Community Calendar, and Marge McDonald with Senior News. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.